Let's talk about typography. Typography is the way we arrange letters and text on a screen. I'll give you some tips that are going to help you be more user-friendly on your website. So we know from research that we can get a significant improvement in reading comprehension using white space, 20%. That's a lot. So when I see pages like this, I just cringe. I feel squished just looking at this. So it's just way too much information. It comes off like a wall of words. There's very little white space, which sometimes designers will call negative space. Look what happens if I just add in a little white space. All I've done is add in some spaces, just hit enter a few times. I've also added in some bullet points. And this seems like a much more accessible passage, and I do know that reading comprehension of this will improve. So remember online that a paragraph could be just one sentence, and that is extremely different than other kinds of writing. But in the world of the web, things are different. So every kind of inch and a half, I look to try to break up the writing either with bullet points or a space or a call out quote or something so that it never feels like a wall of words. Line length is important too. This is sometimes called measure. So if you hear somebody refer to it like that, you'll know what they're talking about. Just how far the words go across your screen, and you don't want them to go all the way across. So somebody's like reading and it's going the whole width of their browser. We don't want something like that. We want a line length of 45 to 90 characters. You can see here is about 45. So 90 gives you a little bit more room. And here you can see this paragraph is about 550 pixels wide. So I'm usually somewhere around the 70, 75 characters wide range. Anywhere in there will be good. The main thing is to remember to not have it go all the way across the screen, and it should be easier to read for people. Also keep in mind colors you're using. Look at this screen. Are there certain text phrases that are easier for you to read than others? I can easily read, let's see, the dark gray one and the black one and even the kind of darkish burnt orange one, but some of the other ones are more challenging for me. So it'll depend on everybody's eyes, and some people who are colorblind are going to have a different experience than maybe I might. So there's been a trend in the last 10 years to use gray a lot more on websites. So instead of black on white, it's been gray on white. And that's interesting. People have said, oh, it's easier on the eyes. I actually don't know if there's research on that. There may be. But what I do know is the text at the bottom here totally fails accessibility tests. And that's going to be problematic because we really want to be sure we are accessible to as many people as possible. And so that requires good color contrast between the foreground color and the background color. So you need to test your text. I go over to the WebAIM contrast checker. It's free. It's just a website you can go to. I've put the URL down here, and I can put in the foreground color, whatever the color is I'm using for the gray on my website. And then I can put in the background color, and then I can see, does it pass? What I'm looking for is that it passes this kind of AA test. And if that one passes, I'm like, okay, that's good. I have a good contrast ratio. Definitely important to do. Make sure your grays are dark enough. That's typically where I run into issues. I'll have designed something and I'll go, oh wait, I think some of that text is a little bit too gray, too light of a gray, and it needs to be darker. So keep an eye out for that. You also want to remember that people want to read your writing and not have to squint or lean forward and look into it, anything like that. So typically 16 pixels is the size that we expect on most websites, and it's kind of a standard body size. And we typically, developers will do it in something called EMs so that somebody could increase the font size if they wanted to, and we want to give people that possibility. So you don't want to be too small, and you don't want to be gigantic, or else you're going to take up all the room on things like mobile. There's also different kinds of fonts, right? Here I've got some examples of decorative fonts, which are really fun. I enjoy looking at them. And we definitely don't want to use them for body text. Fun for headlines, not for body text, because you can see on the left when I'm using Arial, it's much easier to read than using bangers on the right side, which is more like a comic book kind of font. So we just need to be mindful that online we really want to stick to more traditional fonts for the body. Open Sans, for example, is a very common font to use. And then our titles maybe could have a little bit more flair with a decorative font. But we always want to make sure that things are readable over everything else. So here are the tips. Use white space to increase readability. Keep your line length short. Don't make it go all the way across the page. Provide good contrast for your texts. Make sure your fonts are large enough, and use easy readable fonts. This is going to improve the typography on your website, make your writing easier to read, and satisfy your website visitors.